Good morning, traders. I'm trying to keep my videos somewhat uh, short this morning. Okay, like my video if you like it, and retweet comments below on the YouTube channel. It'd be nice. If you have anything you're seeing that I'm not seeing, I appreciate it and stuff. So, uh, so things that I'm looking at here, I've got three different time frames on our VWAPs, and I got my central pivots on here, and we are opening above all those here this morning on the ESs, showing some relative strength after yesterday's carnage with the old Tesla debacle. Came down. We broke the weekly and monthly VWAPs, okay, and we have rallied back up above that, finding support. Okay, guys, so be very mindful of that this morning. We do have GDP coming out today. If we start losing 59.60, that's our line in the sand. That's our weekly and monthly VWAPs. Okay, guys, and we also have our normal VWAP, our daily VWAP in the same zone. So if we start losing 59.60, the narrative could be turning south pretty quick. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's something we got to keep on watch early on this morning. I would venture to say that there's a really good chance we'll be at 59.60 on the open. So we'll see how that all plays out. You have to keep in mind also, guys, on these futures contracts, it is really unheard of to leave so many gaps behind on the futures contracts, and so uh, we are floating higher on very bad structure. Okay, and I just don't want to be calling for a breakout to new all-time highs without repairing, back and filling and repairing some of this structure that we're leaving behind here. And if you zoom down here, look at the size of these gaps. We got some big gaps down here in the short term. That have just not been satisfied. So just be very mindful of that going forward here. I had a really good trade yesterday. I went short right early on out of the gate yesterday in SPY. Had a really good 100% win on the trade. Made my week. I may not even trade today. And you heard old saying, "When in May, go away." So I have completely ratcheted down my trading strategy to one, maybe two trades a week. Okay, that's pretty much what I'm looking at. I'm looking for the absolute best setups. My theory yesterday was VIX, and the reason VIX, you come down here, we came down yesterday morning and we filled this gap on the VIX. My theory was that since we have been looking, a lot of traders, myself included, we just weren't doing anything. We were waiting for this gap fill on the VIX to actually see if we can get some short side action in the markets, which we got. We came in, we filled the gap on the VIX, and now here we are showing a little bit bullish action going on here on the VIX. So currently opening above VWAP actually on the VIX this morning. Huh, imagine that. Um, so be very mindful of that. I'm not saying that. To me, I'd much rather do the scalp trade than try to do a bearish swing trade yet, given current market conditions. But bottom line is, this was a setup that I've been planning for a couple weeks now, which finally played out. I went short. I had planned on going short. I went short yesterday morning. Got 100% on my win there. Over $3,000. I had 100 contracts, so it was really a nice trade for myself on the VIX. Okay. This morning cues. This is one I really want everybody to keep a close eye on after the whole turmoil in Tesla yesterday. Tesla being a major player in the VIX, okay, or in the NQs. Uh, so we got another double top into major resistance that has rejected here on the NQs. But my point is how all these VWAPs are just clustering right here all together. Okay, so be very mindful of this. Similar situation to the S&Ps. You see how the weekly and the monthly are just right there on the same. We are opening above it, so the edge is to the bulls. So far this morning, it does look like we held this support. Okay, so we could be very well going back up to here, back to the all-time highs in today's session after GDP. But then again, if we lose it, you got to look out, guys. You got to look out. So bottom line is, if we start losing, I don't know, somewhere around 21,620, if we start losing that, things could be turning south. So So be very mindful of that. Okay. We do have one test of this higher distribution that seems to be holding this time. I mean, this seems to be a bullish breakout. Looks like the bulls stepped up here at this higher price point. So that's kind of my theory right now. The bulls seem to be stepping up at the higher price point. Now, what was driving this rally off the lows here? Well, we were going into Broadcom's numbers. Look what's happening in Broadcom. We're coming down into this major backtest area early on this morning on Broadcom. And what I do want to point out is when you zoom in here, okay, guys, so far the earnings are out, okay? This right here, okay, that's his monthly, I think. That's weekly, okay. So the earnings came out, they had tepid guidance, right? But we're still holding above the weekly central pivot range. So this is still a very bullish chart, okay? And, technically this, you can actually turn a color to this. This is actually support, guys, until it's proven otherwise. This is technically support area until proven otherwise, because this whole area here, and we're holding that this morning. They're saying, "Oh my God, man, they had lower outlook, lower expectations." Bottom line is, they just took the froth off doing the back test of the breakout. This could be very much a bullish pattern this morning. Now, the warning is that we're losing our monthly and weekly VWAPs. Okay, and so we have to be very mindful of that, assuming that we're going to be supported very, very early on in Broadcom this morning. So, it's still quite a fluid situation here. But, I want to point out here is, if you're really bearish the markets, you would have wanted to see Broadcom down here breaking below the green, opening below the green this morning. And that's not necessarily what we're not getting that this morning so far. That could all change after the GDP comes out, but I just want to float that idea. Another big thing is in the news this morning, Lulu. Lulu is getting impact on the trade war we're having with Canada. And remember, Lulu is a Canadian retailer, and it is getting decimated. Once again, just completely obliterated by the trade tensions. So be very mindful of that, Lulu. This is a lot of problems developing here with this whole, with all these tariffs between Canada and the U.S. and stuff. This is not good for Lulu. And in the long run, I mean, I'm telling you, this is not the area that I would want to be in if I was trying to trade the long side. I'm just telling you guys, you had to go out the bigger time frame here. Okay, guys, this really looks like a breakdown pattern. We could be very well coming down into the 130s and then possibly even all the way down here with the new tariffs coming on and the protectionist policies hitting and everything. We could be coming back down into $50 range here on Lulu. So be very mindful of that. The whole trade dynamic between U.S. and Canada, and this being a Canadian firm, it's all changed. So just be very mindful of this scenario going forward here. Okay. Okay, guys, we're still into the 4-year resistance level. We're doing a major back test this morning. We continue to walk this line right up into the 4-year resistance level. So be very mindful of that. Okay, not particularly where I want to be going long. I mean, we know that's 4-year resistance. It's it's a shortable area till it's not. So we have to be very mindful of that. Taking forward here. You come down here, you can draw a secondary trend line down here on this trend off those extreme lows. Okay. What can I say here? I think this is more valid the way this is hitting the bottom of my range here, hitting the bottom of my range right here, hitting central pivot high, CPR high. That's probably the trend that we're trading against. Obviously, if we stay above that, all things are still bullish on the Russell side. So be very mindful. We're above the weekly, showing relative strength here on the Russell this morning. Not particularly something that I want to personally take to the long side. If it's going to go higher, it's going to have to go a lot higher before I get interested to the long side, in my opinion. So I want to see actually acceptance over the 2165 to actually be a bull in the Nasdaq or the Russell. I'm sorry, in the Russell 2165. So yeah, that's sad. The idea that you have to go higher prices to get to be bullish, but that's the case. Yeah, in my opinion, that's the case. Okay. Some other things that I was looking at this morning. Give me a second here. Okay, guys, I'm looking at the SMH. We know Broadcom, the news is out, right, guys? We're opening below the daily central pivot range this morning, right into a prior swing high. We want to see if this becomes new support or new resistance in today's session. So be very mindful of that. We have a break and back test early on this morning. This is a very important watch to see if actually buyers step up and support this higher price point. So very, very important. If we were to start losing 251.40, 251.40 is really our line in the sand, which is not that far away. 251.40. So we definitely, and look at the spreads we've got this morning. That could very well be just one tick away from doing that. A rejection of these higher highs. Came off of a major top area here, rejecting away from that. The news is out on Broadcom. I could very well see this thing fading today. Other ones, Nvidia took a really nice little haircut yesterday with all the turmoil that was going on. Okay, important to note, we are opening above weekly and monthly VWAPs. Okay, so the edge is to the bulls until they're not. Okay, bottom line is, if we were to start losing the 140.20 area, 140.20, that's our line in the sand. That's a critical pivot area. 140.20 is a critical pivot. Okay, guys, so edges to the bulls until it's not. Okay, just be very mindful of this. Like I said, could very well Broadcom could be catching a bid today. Okay, we're on the bullish side on SMH as well. So be very mindful of these scenarios. Bottom line, so I just want to definitely float those ideas today. Tesla this morning, after the turmoil, way away from the monthly and weekly VWAPs. We're even the daily VWAP having a very difficult time holding prices above the daily VWAP at this point in time. So just be very mindful of that this morning. I mean, that was some carnage there, losing about $300 billion in market cap. So be very mindful. Definitely could be a squeeze scenario happening here. Definitely a potential for that a squeeze scenario here, but we don't know if that would be the case. But something to think about in today's trading. Other things, I saw Google hitting my scan earlier above the weekly, monthly VWAPs and above the regular VWAP, showing a little bit some relative strength early on the session. So let's keep an eye on that. I saw that. I saw Amazon getting impacted by Lulu this morning. It's a rallying here on the bullish side of both of all the VWAPs here. Heads up on that. Not particularly something I would want myself. We have a major backtest area that has not actually hit yet at the 216. 216. It got to 212, but it hasn't gotten to 216 yet. So that could be in the plot and the cards. You never know. We do know the at 215 is the monthly high. 215 is some resistance, the monthly high. So we'll definitely keep that one on watch. So one final takeaway here, guys. The bond markets do look supported this morning. It does look like a lot of interest in the longest end of the curve, the ZBs. This is actually acting different than what we saw going into the most recent auctions. We've actually seen a bid up in yields into the auctions, which have come off a little bit after the auctions. Well, this time we got auctions next week, and we have yields coming down into the auctions. So we got a little bit of flip in the narrative, what we are recently used to seeing. So be very mindful of that. Yeah, we're still showing a lot of relative strength here on the longest end of the curve. you know. So be very mindful of that. What's developing here in the markets. It does look like there's a bid in the treasuries, in large part from Japan. They came in and backstopped U.S. treasuries, uh, possibly at their own expense because they had a really bad auction last week. So earlier this week. Okay, so be very mindful of that. One last thing here, Palantir, which is also similar to Broadcom, in the AI space, they actually came in with all the turmoil with Trump and stuff. They came in. This is one of the momentum stocks, and they came in and sold that off yesterday, but holding critical support this morning. So be very mindful of that as well. Okay, going forward here, how's that look on the other chart versus the VWAPs? PLTR here. So we're deeply oversold from the weekly and monthly VWAPs, trying to support. I mean, this is actually looks quite constructive for a long. Um, I don't know if we want to be long semis today or not after Palantir's numbers, but quite constructive as a long here in my opinion. So let's definitely keep an eye on this Palantir. This could be a range low bounce by the dip here on Palantir, knowing where your stop is. Knowing your stop is right here, the 119.30 area. You wouldn't want prices going below 119.30 by very much at all. But something to just definitely keep an eye on here. See if buyers were to come in and support this beast in today's session. You don't want to be married to a trade, but that there is a definite possibility. We did see some major profit taking, so I don't know if you're going to get those follow throughs. Day and make new lows. After the big break of the weekly and monthly VWAPs, not many stocks are getting follow throughs the very next day, with the exception maybe Tesla. Uh, yeah, very, very few stocks are actually getting the second day follow through after the break of the weekly and monthly VWAPs so far. Okay. Thanks for listening, and I will see you possibly trading today. We'll see if I can find a setup. My big setup was already played out for the week. I really don't have a setup for today, uh, so be very careful. Uh, I don't really like trading the upside at the current price points. I'd rather wait for the breakout and back test. We just don't. The risk reward to the upside is just so limited on most, especially on the indices. So be very mindful of that going forward here.